over the weekend, I was really fortunate to see David Whyte, the poet-philosopher, live in Byron Bay. And I posted some of his stuff on Instagram, and quite a few people just reach out and go, wow, that's awesome. Like, who is this guy? And so I thought I'd do an episode just maybe sharing some of my favorite passages from him. There are like so many, so it's really hard, but I think I'll share a couple that might relate to you. There was one around death that I wanted to share, but I might do a separate episode about that because I think it's definitely a standalone one. It was profound. Like, it really stood out for me on Saturday. I first heard of David Whyte through Jenny Blake, who's I played on the Weekend Rewind, I think last week or the weekend before. And I remember where I was when she quoted this to me. She said, "That which you can plan is too small for you to live." And I remember kind of reeling back and going, whoa. She's like, oh, that's David Whyte. And so since then, I've followed his work. When I heard that, I thought it was from someone from like the 1800s. And I'm so grateful he's still alive and I got to see him. It was like a 3-hour session with about a 30-minute intermission. I was sitting front row, and there are times when he would say a line and it just cuts you to the core. It kind of just penetrates his skin. And then I get eye contact and then he'd fall silent. And it was like this awkward moment. And because he's so vulnerable up there and he was trembling, you could see the emotion in his face. It was really, really profound. I also bumped into Dr. Jason Fox and Michael Dixon when I was down there. So shout out to those two legends. And so a couple of poems I want to share. First of all, this one, this actually isn't an essay from him, but I heard him say this on a podcast he was on, and I actually got my notes out and wrote it down. He was talking about leadership, and he said, one of the powerful dynamics of leadership is being visible. One of the vulnerabilities of being visible is that if you're visible, you can be seen. And if you can be seen, you can be touched. And when you can be touched, you can be hurt. So all of us have these elaborate ways of looking as if we're showing up and not showing up. In an organizational setting, this has tremendous consequences on other people's lives. And as I was doing this, as I was thinking about recording this, I'm like, do I share with you my reflections on that, or do I let you sit with some of these? And I think I'll kind of might do a bit of a hybrid on this. There's only 2 more passages I want to read to you. But I think the power in his poetry is how you then sit back and reflect on that as well. The next essay is called Just Beyond Yourself, and he shared this in Byron Bay. He said a lot of growth is about undoing and letting go of almost shedding the skin and stepping into something else. I really like this poem as a way of looking forward and just reminding yourself that you're in the right place. So here we go. Just beyond yourself. It's where you need to be. Half a step into self-forgetting and the rest restored by what you'll meet. There is a road always beckoning. When you see the 2 sides of it, closing together at that far horizon and deep in the foundations of your own heart at exactly the same time, that's how you know it's the road you have to follow. That's how you know it's where you have to go. That's how you know you have to go. That's how you know. Just beyond yourself, it's where you need to be. Whew, I love his stuff. Okay. And like I said, I'm not going to do the death one today because that one of the lines just like, wow, shook me. But I bought his book. It's called Consolations 2. This is his latest book. He does essays on various words. This is the essay around brand. Brand is not something an individual human being should want for themselves. Brand is meant to mark ownership or consistency and should be confined to what can be owned or forced into compliance. Brand is a false substitute for a truly movable, unnameable, unquantifiable, living, growing identity. To be branded is to have a mark of ownership, literally seared into our skin for all to see. Brand is an immovable image that stays with us through every seasonality, something that cannot be erased, something that a human being shouldn't want, something that says I belong to someone else's imaginings and assessments and am therefore always at the bidding of someone else, my boss, my audience, my following. Branded means we are marked for life, marked to someone else's account, owned and corralled in order, and originally, in the instance of cattle, to be sent to an untimely end. Branding diminishes the elemental valency of human identity, where our valency is measured by our ability to combine and be available for the unrecognisable, the unnameable, and the inconceivable. Branding may be appropriate for a can of well-loved beer, for a medical company who guarantees the safe production of their drugs, or for the representation of any collective effort. But for an individual human being, making a brand of themselves is to be held and imprisoned by that brand. Branding is the death of both humanity and individual artistry. All true artists refuse to comply with the language or behaviours of branding. All true artists shed their hides multiple times in their lives, letting any trace of a fixed mark fall away in the process. What is worth wearing for a while is always, in the end, worth discarding. We are what we wear, only while we wear it. What is worth wearing is always, in the end, worth giving away, back to the place it came from. Brand is a mark on our surface skin. It cannot penetrate to the depth to which we wish the world to find us. Branding is my temporary surface name, my false home, and my present protective disguise. Branding is what I give up in order to become real. Wow, I absolutely love that one. For me, just hearing that personally, I find it really refreshing because I think a lot of us are confined by the identity that either we put upon us, we cast upon ourselves, and it is almost like a prison that we're in. And it's like when Jennifer Aniston was cast as Rachel in Friends, like she's typecast in that role for life. And part of, I guess, her life's mission is to escape that. And even for me, like a friend, Jan Keck, shout out to Jan over in Germany, he reached out and he's like, oh my gosh, Leanne, this is so cool. I was on ChatGPT and I was asking for thought leaders and your name was mentioned. And I was like, cool. And it was like alongside Pre Parker, Simon Sinek and all these people. And it's like, follow Leanne Hughes for information about workshop design. And it's like, that's part of my brand. Like, yes, I'm happy. Yes, I'm very happy that I'm recognized by ChatGPT as an authority and a thought leader. But on the other hand, is that what I want to be known for? And then it's, I've just gone through a rebranding process. And I think the whole process, it's a continued evolution. And it's the skin that I choose to wear right now. But I know that in future, I'm going to put it down and try something else on. And I'm more than happy with that. That's what happens when we grow up, we get wise and everything else. So we change. And I love that line, the last line there, branding is what I give up in order to become real. This is really around the power of just showing up as yourself, really linking to that first passage I shared around when you're visible, you can be touched. When you're touched, you can be hurt. All right. So just sharing some love for David Whyte on this podcast. A link to his work in the show notes for this one. Have you heard of him before? What stood out for you in that episode? I always love hearing from you. Send me a note on the socials or shoot me an email, hello@leannehughes.com. Thanks, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.